And good morning and welcome to Touch Base Daily. My name is Ron Foster and I'm touching base with you as I always do every day during the week and sometimes on the weekends. So how are you all? I hope you're doing fine. It is a new day. Oh, I have an echo. Hold on. Okay, there we go. I got an echo going on here. There we go. There we go. There we go. Okay. How you guys doing? What's new? It is day 2 after our wonderful election day, and I know people are still recovering and still mentally wrapping their heads around the new world we're going to be living in, and just feeling some of the loss. I had so many people calling me, texting me yesterday, checking up on me, and checking and just sharing their thoughts, and really we're in this together. It's about building community. It's all about the community. And that's it. We can make it because we have each other. We can make it because we have community. And so here we are. Let me send my invite to some of the folks that may want to pop on. And I'm getting better at this stuff that this screen is really capable of doing. So I'm going to send that to Miss G is in the building. I see her. I see her in the building. And who else is out there that it may want to pop on? But here we go. Let me just say hello to a bunch of folks. And Hannah is the first person in the building. And she says, good morning, Ron and Touch Base Daily family. So good to see Hannah in the building. In second place, the silver goes to Grand Rising to Aya. She says, Grand Rising, good morning, good morning. Ron, Hannah, and everyone. Gotcha. And Chris says, good morning, all. So we got the West Coast is in the building, East Coast is in the building, and the South is in the building. And I see also the wonderful Rashawn is in the building. Rashawn, you still have to get to me about your class. Remember, you are a Patreon member and you get a class. You get special tutoring, photography lessons. Let me know. Just giving you a shout out over the horn. You are one of the students. So. And for those that are interested in lessons, if you become a Patreon member, there's a certain level that you can get your lessons also. We can set up and get lesson time in for you for some photography. Okay, and in the building also is Miss G.R. Houston. Chat. Anyway, I like doing that. Hello, Miss Gwendolyn. And I see here, who else is in the building? Jazzy's in the building. What's going on, Jazzy? Jazzy's becoming a regular host over here. I'm liking it. Jazzy is in the building. Jazzy's in the building. Oh, you know what? I didn't do my QR code, did I? I got to get my QR code right for today. Hold on a second, man. I got to get my QR code right. What's going on? Let me bring on Miss Gwendolyn while I'm doing that. What's going on, Miss G? It's a new day.
There's a lot going on. I'm not in a mood, believe it or not. I'm still doing my my thought process. As I said yesterday, the walking helps. And today, a phrase that came to me, which I never really got down with because I didn't get it. I was like, whatever. Was I am my ancestors' wildest dream.
Ooh, yeah.
I was not a fan of it. I'm still not a fan of it because it's not about your ancestors. It's about you. It's about, well, I'm my ancestors' wildest dream. But then I thought, if I think about my ancestors and the time that they were in, perhaps the only thing they really wanted for themselves was the right to be, right? Freedom. The right to just walk and be about and live whatever their best life is, right? So I thought about that. And then I thought, in connection with that when things are great, everybody is so faithful, right? Because God is good all the time until you get into your test. And then you're like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I can make it. I'm just going to cut and run. But then I thought, well, your ancestors depending on who they are. Now, in my opinion, there's 3 groups. There's the group that would sell out everybody for an extra piece of chicken and some cornbread. Right?
Yes,
There's that
yes.
group.
There's always
There's
that
the
group.
group that is just, I know, right? Because there's always one. Everybody knows somebody like that. Then there's the group that is in the middle, like they're kind of hopeless. What's the point? And then there are the fighters. They're the fighters who said, I get that this didn't go my way, and I may not even get to experience what I want, but I want it for whoever comes behind me. And so I started thinking, am I my ancestors' wildest dream? If I want to use that phrase and say, now I will say this, I came from some fighters, real talk. My grandmama, one of her relationships was abusive. And keep in mind that, Black men beating on Black women wasn't about nothing. So
that was the norm. That was the norm back then.
It was the norm. Nobody cared. It's like, it's just some Negroes. But grandma one night had enough, took her razor, cut off the man's breast and hung it on a tree.
Ooh, and I was like, you come from some
I come from some fighters. So I know I'm aware that we are fighters. And in a time like this, you find your theme song. So Billy Ocean, When the Going Gets Tough. I know. I love that whole Romancing the Stone series. But it's the idea of the tough gets going.
The tough gets going.
Everybody picks and chooses their path. Ain't nobody judging that. But from where I'm standing, it's, things don't always happen. In my own school history, I ran for high school president twice. I ran for college president twice. I lost by 1 vote in college twice. I was like, where are the voters? Right? So we have always been active in making things better for somebody else. Whether or not I get to experience is not the focus. The focus is I'm fighting for somebody else. Now, today, is not what we wanted. But this is democracy. Sometimes your horse wins. Sometimes your horse loses. Do I believe that what January will look like is going to be kind of funny? I do believe so. But again, I keep going back to what did my grandmama and my aunties, what did they all put up with?
Yes, they put up with a lot.
Somebody had to fight for that. Somebody fought for me to be the smart ass that I am.
Woo, say it again and say the last part again.
The fact that I'm smart ass. Oh, okay, well, yeah. Somebody had to fight for that, right? So I'm thinking to myself, we are not. I mean, I'm going on vacation. I know I said that. I'm going on vacation, planning that out, and I am getting my mind together. But I have gone through. Clearly, I should have stopped trying to run for president, but I don't stop. Like if you really believe in something, you are going to keep showing up and keep fighting for it until it happens.
Yes.
That's what that is. And I took my little licks and wounds. I was still active with the person who was the college president at FIT for our class. I was still very active with her, still doing stuff, still getting into things because it didn't go my way, but that doesn't mean I'm just going to, fall to the wayside. So we will take this time and reflect for those of you who need to get out in nature, get by some water, go sit out and, I meditate daily. And, those long walks, I get these ideas of what's next, right?
Yes.
Of what's coming next. Yeah, you are going to feel some grief, some pain, whatever, because we don't always win. I mean, you know how many times I didn't play the lotto? Okay, so not that many times because I don't play the lotto. I don't play. My husband got me a scratch off. I was like, ooh, and I think I won $20, Ron. I won 20. Right now, how many people keep playing the lotto?
Yes, right. They keep playing lotto no matter what.
Religiously and have yet to win, but yet they keep showing up.
They keep playing. They keep showing up.
So
one of my buddies,
you need that attitude.
We need that attitude. Keep showing up to get the lottery that is going to be like getting struck by lightning. I see some more folks that walked into the building, and again, you see, I have my little directional here so people can know. To join the panel discussion, click on the QR code, which is with those little arrows right here to the right of the screen. So if you want to pop on, just take your phone. I know some of you guys are looking at us on your phone, but if you're looking at on us on TV, or you're looking at on your tablet or some other device, take your phone and you can do the QR code.
Well, depending on what kind of phone you're using, you can also just click on the QR code and it takes you there. But we're not going to do a technology conversation today. and that's across the board. So it's just like people should know how to use their phone, but that's a whole separate thing.
So another topic for another day, another lesson class. But let's say hello to some folks I see in here. Janet is in the building. She says, greetings, everyone. We also saw Lisa was in the building. Lisa is in the building. Hello, Lisa. And we also have David Moscato is in the building. Morning, all. And Chris says, West Coast. That's right. I know you. I see you, West Coast. I see you. You guys are up early to be here in the West Coast. Derek is on the West Coast. What's going on, Derek? Good morning, Mr. T. Tuggle. And Kelly A is in the building. It's so good to have community. We're going to talk about that.
It is.
We're going to talk about that.
That was, I keep starting and stopping my last couple of shows for this month. Because it all depends on what I'm feeling, right? I do believe tomorrow I'm probably going to do a change is going to come, because that's just what that is, right? Like I believe that that's there. But in terms of community, if we go there, I keep saying you got to find yourself some good people. You need to find people around you who are going to lift you up. Mm-hmm. And keep in mind, the people you hang around, typically those values, they are aligned. Now, I'm not judging your values, because hey, like I said, everybody has a right to feel how they feel. So I'm not judging that, but you should get you some people who can lift you up. And as you say, like I had folks who called me yesterday. They were like, "Are you okay?" Actually, I mean, I'm disappointed. Yeah.
Disappointed.
But at the exact same time, I don't know if it's my Black experience. That's a future podcast title too. But because I keep the list right.
You keep the list. I know you keep the list going.
I'm ready for 2025. God bless them if they start coming for us, because somebody gonna show enough snatch me up. But there's a place, in my opinion, for my Black experience, that you just recognize America for who it is. I talk about James Baldwin. For you to be a Negro in this country.
Oh, how about can we talk about James Baldwin?
Rage.
James right? Baldwin.
People get upset when we say Black girl or Black boy joy. Do you know how hard it is to just have that joy? Because somebody always trying to snatch that bitch. You know what I'm saying? They are always trying to snatch it from us. Like, how dare you be happy? How dare you sit in this? How dare you be cute? Heifer, I was born this way. Check it. So, I mean, for myself, I will not let go of the elementary kid who was singing Whitney Houston at her little elementary graduation, that kids are the future and teach them. And, I'm not going to figure that. I am still dreaming and hoping, but hope is not a plan, right?
Hope is not a plan.
It's you got to have some strategy.
You gotta get to work. We got to get to work.
Strategy behind it.
Yes,
just like I have my faith. My faith in God has not been shaken. But trust, I got to do a little work too, though. There's some work that is involved that's required there. But for me, it was, okay, I had the faith. I mean, I still have it. And I believe that there is a higher moral compass here. But then I forgot, no. That damn white supremacy it's gonna rear its ugly head. These folks are in it for the long haul. But I was like, guess what? I am too. I'm down. I'm down for the cause. The revolution will be televised. Okay, it's gonna be televised, people. So this is where we are.
This is where we are. This is our America. This is what we've become. This is where we are. And again, like we've been saying, always, there's always been 30% of the country, but now. Yes. It looks like it's increased, and it goes back and forth. It's like a rubber band. It expands where people are on the side of, this. But this is also a lot bigger there's a lot of things at play. There's the billionaire class and the wealthy people using the smaller people, and the smaller people think they're going to get somewhere because they follow the big people, the billionaires, and there's all kinds of philosophy. If you go online, yesterday I took a little breather away from social media. Like when I got off with you guys, I did not go through my regular going through the feeds, looking through the stories, and I just said nope. And but this morning I went through a couple. I think right before I went to bed, I may have just kind of glanced on something because it popped on the screen. But there are a lot of people there's two things going on. A lot of the Trump supporters are losing their minds online. They are so happy. They're talking about, we got you women, blah, 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 blah. This is a man world. The Trumpers are losing their minds. This is the first day I went for a walk and saw two cars with their Trump flags flying in the air, heading down Flatbush Avenue in the wind. They are celebrating. And I know we all knew this was going to happen. And we knew if they won, this would be the license for them to go all out in whatever they believe. Now, there were some people that voted because of, obviously, for economic reasons. They just voted according to their pockets. But there are some people that diehard cult followers, and they are they're taking this as this is us, we won, and we're going to do whatever we want to do. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I had all of the years in my life living in New York, I never saw any Trump signs, and like they do in the South with the car and a big giant flag. I was like, wait, what's going on here? And I mean, I knew that there was a little shift in New York of 5% for Trump. But I was like, wow, we got two trucks in one morning. And
if you are correct that there are some people who feel that this is a license to leave their press cleans white sheets in the closet and just come out, that's fine. You're gonna find yourself in some different situations, right? You can definitely try, but if I may go back to a point you made about the poor, we say poor people, and I hate to use that word because in some sense we're all a little poor somewhere. But some of us still believe in that dream of being like the Joneses, that one of these days I'm going to get 1 million, whereas the average person very rarely even sees like 100,000 in their checking account, let alone 10. And we have seen this past couple of years, the rise of all these coaches selling people the idea of getting 6 figures. You too can have 6 figures. Yes. All you got to do. It's like,
get 6 figures. We see it all online.
So you have choices. I should say we have choices. And the choice is to let go of the programming. Now, I talk about programming for women, letting go of society's program for women. And that's a choice, because some of us, like, clearly I was not made to do whatever some people thought I was supposed to do. It was not my thing to be somebody's mother. It was just not in me. I love the children. I do. I like to send them back home though, afterwards, right? So we're at a place where we can let go of the programming that in order for me to be happy, in air quotes, I have to have XYZ amount of money. Because for some people, the idea of going to the Golden Corral is like, oh, that's awful. But for somebody, the Golden Corral is big time. And for someone else, going to Red Lobster is big time, right? So in this next wave that we see, we know the first couple of years will still be the Biden administration's economics, right? It will be interesting to see if some of these people are going to stick to the idea that they are better off under this guy.
Yes.
Right?
But they will be. They will be for the first 2 years. You know why? Because the Biden-Harris administration worked so hard to get the economy in a place and set the foundations and get it where it needs to be. And again, this is what the Republicans do. The Democrats straighten it out. The Republicans get the glory for because Americans still haven't learned that the economy is a lagger. They call it a lagger for a reason. That the first 2 years of the administration that comes in after a bad economic situation is all about repairing, fixing, reestablishing, and correcting. Then it takes 2 years to kind of like get some of a momentum. And this is why most presidents that can last the 8 years of being in office, they get to see the beauty of their work, because usually in the 5th year, that's when the economy starts reacting to all of the changes you made in the first 4 years. And then, but the again, when you don't have critical thinking and people are not taught to think, oh wow, the economy is a lagger, so the prices are going to come down, but it takes time when you are correcting and moving. You can't turn a rowboat the same way you can turn a cruiser. It takes when they turn a big cruiser, they got to do some work. Now you can get in your rowboat and just take one paddle and just do this, but the cruise ship takes a long time, and everything has to be adjusted. Everything has to be maneuvered. You have to make the change early and then slide and move into the turn. Yo, it's hard to do, but we're not taught critical. Well, as a country, we're not critical thinkers. So, anyway, welcome Brian and welcome Jazzy. Jazzy's in the building. What's going on, Mr. B? I know you must be exhausted, and you have been on the you are on the front lines, brother. Get your thoughts out, brother. Now, the thing is, you just go for it.
Well, I'm not. I didn't cry this morning like I did yesterday.
Yeah.
And talking to my mom yesterday, that's what gutted me. And when you are, I don't like using absolutes, but sometimes they apply, and all of us, truly all of us, have an expiration date. And talking to my mom, or really listening, and thankfully she's still here. Her health is starting to, some mental acuities, but she's still here. And the fact that, she's closer to her finish line of her life. And Saturday morning, when my sister called me after they had just voted in Cleveland, and my mom was so ecstatic. It's like, I voted for a Black woman, and voted up and down the ticket, all the women. I said, Ma, did you make sure that some of those women weren't Republican? But and then to hear her demeanor yesterday, knowing as the older I get, the more time, knowing what she's lived through, growing up in Anniston, Alabama, where I was born and raised, and knowing that she was in the civil rights movement at the grassroots level, knowing that they had to sneak around to various churches for the meetings, knowing that uncle that I never got a chance to meet, my mom's only brother, was murdered by a white man. knowing that she has lived through seeing women around her die because abortion was illegal and doing back alley abortions, and just hearing, and then she's tired. That's the one thing that I'm tired, son. And she said, I'm proud of you. I'm not even angry. I'm numb. I worked a poll at the precinct here. Well, not here. I learned so much. You cannot be a poll worker in the precinct that you are voting in. So that's because I was wondering why they're sending me somewhere hell and gone. But when it was explained to me, I get it. But to have a white woman call me a bitch to my face.
Wow.
Because when you insert the ballot into the machine, we're supposed to stand 10 feet away. And she was, well, it spit it back out because you got to have it right.
You got to have it directly lined up.
Yeah. If it's off just a hair, it'll, ma'am, just put it back in, give it a couple of seconds. If it's aligned up on the screen, an American flag will show, and then the lights that are red will turn green. That means your vote has been calculated. And, well, where's it saying? It's not telling me that I voted for Trump. And she looked over at me, and she's trying to, I said, ma'am, I can't come and look unless there is.
Well, the machine doesn't tell you who you vote for. Yeah. It just simply says scan accept.
Yeah. Well, you're just a bitch for letting me not vote for my. And I'm like, ma'am. And
this is, I know what you're, sorry for cutting you off, but this is, what's amazing about this moment in time is that we all know now who we're dealing with. We've had so much exposure of the people, and we're going to see more. Because the people that are excited that Trump won are going to be so excited. We'll be like, oh, okay, you were one of those people. Oh, and that you were one of those guys. This is definitely the time of the great reveal. And I rather, in some ways, in the positive of this, know the great reveal. Because who are the people who are where they are morally, where they stand culturally, where they stand about their positions on different matters. And do we all align? Or do they align with you? Or you align with them? And one thing you can say about, again, this period we're living in is it is truly the great revealer. And but what would and I'm gonna go to Jazzy in a moment.
Yeah.
But what was your biggest takeaway, and if you can say it in a minute, your biggest minute takeaway of what you did, from this whole, you went out, you knocked on the doors, you went from place to place. What was your, if you can sum it up in one word, what was your takeaway?
White supremacy is stronger than fill in the blank.
Yeah.
Even the dog.
The dog agrees.
The lighter note that at the end of the night, where the precinct captain goes through all the ballot, goes through a strip of paper that says, to just triple check. There's so many redundancies. But the funny thing is that for write-in candidates, and it tabulates it, and he was like, gosh, because each one they have to write a report, and he was just like, oh my God, thank God, basically, that these two popped up. Wu-Tang Forever and Bill Murray were the two the highest write-ins. That's a comical thing that I take away. My thing, and I'll stop. I said this yesterday when I talked to a lot of the older women in my family, and looking at the numbers that come out, our uh, our Latin brothers and sisters who voted for this orange clown, I don't want to hear jack crap when your family is being ripped apart. The white women, I don't want to hear jack crap when it's your daughter or yourself or your granddaughter who can't get the proper health care she needs just so happens that it may be abortion. Abortion is not just about a child.
Yeah, we know.
It's about,
we know.
It's
Yeah.
about health care. I don't want to hear jack crap from the Latin women. Same thing. These groups who voted for that
Overwhelmingly voted.
I don't want to hear nothing. I don't want to hear nothing when they come for you. And if you allow me at the end, I'll reread that poem by Martin Niemöller, his famous poem from World War II.
Yes.
Because it is so appropriate now. Because
yep.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. This is we have to go through what they call the period of grieving. There's stages to grieving, and we're grieving. People are grieving because this is disappointing on so many levels. But it's okay to feel anger. It's okay to be disappointed. It's okay to want to rip some things apart. It's okay to smash and beat up your pillow. I mean, it's okay. I don't know for the therapist people, the people that do therapy, you have to have a pillow to beat up. So
I'm numb.
I got a big one back here.
Have your plan. Because
before you go, Jazzy, what's going on in the building? Welcome to the building. And so, Jazzy, it's day 2. How are you feeling? It's day
2. So yesterday, I think I was in a bit of like a little bit of denial about my feelings, if I'm being honest, because I think it's not that I told you, like there was a feeling that I had during the night that I just felt like he was going to win. Like I did. And it was the same feeling I had back in 2016. And I think for me, one of the things that I'm frustrated by is the fact that it's like knowing that here is a person that was put in a place to help so many individuals. And not only did we not vote for her, we flipped the Senate and they are retaining the House. And so for me, I think I had to log off yesterday because there were so many things happening online.
Yes.
That was truly disturbing to me.
Yes.
And it's one of those things where I think, I look at the older generation, I look at the younger generation, and what I'm kind of seeing right now is the normalcy we are having in this whole sphere of white supremacy. And to Brian's point, I think sometimes it's like, when I was younger, I kind of think of it as this like elusive, mystical time. It's not that racism wasn't there.
Right.
It was that I think it was suppressed in a way, right? And we allowed ourselves to believe in some ways that certain things were not going to repeat themselves because we felt like we were moving forward and progressing forward.
Yes.
And what I'm seeing now is not only the regression of all that, but a new generation of young people that are putting their foot down in it.
Yes.
There are a lot of young people that, are not about that. And I commend them. I think there's a lot of the new generation that, understands the problems that we're going through. But I can't help but feel like a little mystified by the fact that you had people grow up the way that we did, right? Like I said, this it wasn't that racism was there. It's always been there. So
always.
I understand that. But it's kind of like, how do you raise your kids to be what we moved away from? It's just, and that's what I'm seeing now. I think we have allowed our society to make it okay. Media has normalized it in a way where it's it's beyond my comprehension. And I think that it's like,
Fifi, I did send you the email just so you know. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm frustrated by it because it's not that it was gone. It's just I'm frustrated by the fact that we cannot get out of our own way sometimes, and we have to put ourselves through a mess in order to see the light. But I look at Venezuela, right? And if you actually read about what happened in Venezuela, one of the things that happened was it was a gradual onslaught of like, okay, we're just going to take away a little bit of stuff over here. We're going to take a little bit over here. And then literally the next day they took everything.
Yep. That's how it goes.
Like you said, there were doctors, lawyers, highly educated people that voted against their favor because they had the myth that they're going to be rich. If you ever listen to me, the one thing that I hate so much when I hear the rich and the famous and how they tell you, you're not nothing if you're not doing anything. You're not nothing if you sleep. You're nothing if you're working class. We have been conditioned to think that we're nothing if we are not these people. It is okay to be a manager, a worker, a dishwasher, a server. It is okay to be those things, because if everybody was an entrepreneur, we would not survive. Everybody cannot be that.
Yep.
And we have
need
been
worker bees
to believe that is not okay to be these things, because if you're not super rich, if you're not famous, then you're not doing anything. I cannot stand that narrative. I do not like when people sit here and try to put down other people because of their jobs. And because of that, we have what we have right now, because we have a whole class of people that believe, well, I went to college, so they should be able to do what they need to do. And they need to just pull themselves up by the bootstraps. No, they have their job. I have my job. Their job is not affecting me in my life. If you're okay with the money that you're making, then why are you worried about somebody working at McDonald's? Why does it matter to you? Truthfully, think about that. Because you go to McDonald's, right? And you sit in that drive-thru, right? And if those people weren't there, what would happen? I do not understand this mentality. We are not going to be rich enough to be Trump.
Most people, but that's
most people.
Jazz, just not to cut you off, but most people. The unfortunate thing is that they, especially the Trump supporters, are like, oh, he's like me when he's nothing like you. Right. But somehow in their mind they think he's there. I want to bring to you guys some numbers, and this is going to help you understand the white vote. And I know you probably say, Ron, why are you going to tell us about the white vote? But I want you to understand why the country is where it is, and in some aspects of this whole election. And these are numbers, and numbers don't lie. And you know me, I'm about the numbers. So I'm going to show you something that is, and it's going to be a little moment, but I want you to listen. And it's from Morning Joe, our Mr. Ratner, that always does the economic charts, and it's revealing. It's very revealing. I mean, it's not a justification, but it's revealing. I'll say that.
Polling, the economy was one of the top issues on the minds of voters as they cast their ballots on Tuesday. Joining us now with charts is former Treasury official and Morning Joe economic analyst Steve Ratner. And Steve, you are looking at the metrics that fueled Trump's win. Let's start with the issue of income. What did the numbers tell you?
Yeah, of course, Mika, this is at the heart of the matter for almost every American. What is my purchasing power? How much can I buy? What's happening to my standard of living? And so let me show you what actually did happen over the last really a decade or so. But if you go back to 2014, and these are all inflation-adjusted incomes. This is what you have after inflation. Incomes rose fairly steadily at about a rate of 1.3% all the way through the Trump administration. Now, 1.3% may not sound like a big number, but that's after inflation. That's more money that you have to spend. Ignore this. This was a COVID distortion. During the Biden administration, you can see that they actually went down for a while. That was that big burst of inflation that we had. And that lately they've been coming back. And when all is said and done, they were basically flat for this period. And this bothers Americans. And they feel that it was even worse because they don't really see these numbers, this chart exactly, but they feel this and they don't quite feel this. And so they basically say inflation is what's hurting them. And in fact, incomes did not do as well in the Biden administration as in the Trump administration. We just have to put that out there.
So Steve, let's continue through the charts. So talk about the disconnect between how well America's economy is doing. We hear it all the time. America's envy of the world. Every world leader says they would love to change trade places with the United States. The U.S. dollar at an all-time are moving towards an all-time high. The stock market at an all-time high. S&P at an all-time high. Talk about the overall economy, and then this segment of the economy that you say for working class Americans that you think drove the election in Donald Trump's direction.
Sure, Joe. So, yes, as we've talked about on the show, I think as recently as last week, the American economy overall is doing fantastically well. The envy of the world, everything we've been talking about, growth, low unemployment, and inflation coming down. But let's talk about how it affects the average American. One of the big things that I believe is lurking behind the fact that you have this huge right track, wrong track, upside down poll numbers that we've all seen so much of is the American dream and the question of whether the American dream is still there. So let's just look at this one chart. If you go back to 1940, 90% of young Americans would, by the age of 30 rather, make more money than their parents did. That has come steadily down. Some of that is somewhat natural as we became more prosperous, but it just continues to go down and down and down and down. And now you're down here at 50%. So only 50% of American parents should believe or will find that their son or daughter is making as much or more as they're making at the age of 30. That's not the American dream. The American dream is obviously each generation is supposed to do better than the one before.
All right. And then your final chart, Steve, is about industrial wages falling behind. Tell us about it.
Well, actually, Mika, before we do that, can I do my middle chart, which we didn't
do your middle chart? Which one?
Because it's in the same theme of what happens.
Okay.
So, and all the income inequality that we've had in this country over the last 20 years has led to some very different outcomes. If you're a white child born in the bottom 25th percentile, so now we're back to the famous white working class. If you were born in 1978 versus being born in 1992, on an inflation-adjusted basis, a child born in 1992 had 6% less income after inflation, all that, at the age of 30, than at the age of 27, rather, than a child born back here in 1978. So children are in this cohort of a white working class are making less and less and less each birth year that they have. In contrast, for the people at the top, they've actually been making a bit more for each child born. So you have this situation where children of white working class parents are making less each child year after year as they're born. They're completely the opposite at the top. So let's also compare millennials to baby boomers. I'm a baby boomer, and see what their different situation is. So if you talk about home ownership, baby boomers, 62% of baby boomers owned a home. 49% of millennials owned a home at the same age of 35. So millennials worse off. If you look at negative net worth, i.e. being bankrupt, 14% of millennials are bankrupt by the age of 35. Only 9% of boomers were. If you look at wealth, millennials have on average 30% less wealth than baby boomers had at the same point in their life. But the top 10% of millennials actually had more wealth than the baby boomers. So you have huge wealth inequality among millennials. So these are all reasons why people feel that the American dream isn't what it was supposed to be.
And there you have it.
So
there you have it. So yes, go ahead, Gwendolyn.
You want to go first, Jazzy?
Oh, I'm a millennial, right? So I came out of school literally when the financial crisis was happening.
Yes.
My first job that I had as a working adult, I was laid off within 6 months because of the company went up, right? So I understand that very well. I've lived it. I'm living it. I know how student loans work. I know how all of it works. I don't understand how anybody can look at what's happening and what happened during Trump years and what he did and what he put in place and not understanding without understanding the the deficit that he put people like me in. He's making it worse. So for me, like I have friends, I'm lucky. I'm very lucky. Like I've had my experiences. I told y'all yesterday, like I had a whole moment where I was literally like 2 seconds away from being homeless. Like I've had my experiences. It's very frustrating to me to watch somebody sit there and vote against their own interests.
Yes.
Literally vote against their own interests and not understand why some of the things that are happening. I hate when I hear certain people say, well, he promised us that he was going to pay the student loans off and he didn't pay the student loans off. Okay. Let me explain why. Because Trump put in an influx of judges on the federal level that have been blocking the payments for your student loans. SCOTUS blocked it. Then they came back, tried to do something else. Then federal level judges put in place certain rules so that your student loans cannot get paid off. And I will tell you, my student loans were private. I can't get them paid off anyway. But at the end of the day, I do want to see the people that are my age be able to have some type of financial freedom. But sitting here and putting a man in place that literally made it so that inflation went through the roof, who literally put in tax plans to progressively tax the middle class more and not his rich little friends, but continues to spend money and put us in a huger deficit because he does not want to tax his friends. Like, what are we talking about? And I will say this, because I was talking to my mom about this earlier, and I was saying to her, because she was talking to me about, like, the Democrats don't have good messaging. And I agree with her to
horrible messaging. Horrible messaging.
To a certain extent, right? But some of it is because we want to say like this. A lot of us have our ears closed off when we don't like what they have to say. I will never sit here and say that the Biden administration did a good job about the economy, because they don't understand that if I can't buy groceries, I don't care that the stock market is doing good.
They
don't understand that.
So let me can I interject? And this is why I wanted to show everybody this. I know it's a little long, but I want you to understand, because white people in America, when you look at the number, white people are not used to being like everybody else in a lot of ways. So this is this is shocking to their souls, their spirits, their being. Is that, wait a minute, we had money. We could do what we wanted to do. We were always going to have money. We were always, we're going to work. We're going to have to work. But they were used to always having better than the last generation. But then now you have, look, you saw the charts. You saw that it has plunged. But with the browning of America and the world and the country becoming more cohesive, as in color, and people coming from different backgrounds, it has also made it an equalizer. When things are bent out of shape economically for the country, it affects everybody, including white folks that were not affected before. And so this is a indication of why you have so much white rage. And they, this is just a piece of the puzzle, just giving you a piece of the puzzle. But I wanted you guys to understand a piece of the puzzle of why there's a lot of white rage in the country, because they are not doing good. They're not doing better than their children. I mean, their parents. They
voting against
continue
themselves.
going.
If you want to do better, I hear what you're saying, but I'm just saying, like, I genuinely hear what you're saying, but you're voting for somebody that has no interest in actually helping you get to the level of your whiteness, right? You're literally sitting here voting against the policies of yourself so that you can say, haha, I got you, but you're kicking yourself in your face.
Oh, definitely.
Those charts.
What are you doing?
But the thing is that people, remember we used to look at old movies, and they used to say the kings that had power had to do two things. They had to keep the subjects in the kingdom for their stomachs growling.
Mm-hmm.
They had to that was the first thing. The first thing was you had to keep your kingdom fed, because as soon as people are hungry, they lose their minds. You think reasoning is out the window on a regular day, but when people are hungry and when they feel like they have been discarded, wherever that may be, they feel some kind of way and they lose all logical judgment. Same thing. The other one was back in the kingdom days where there were kings and queens in power. They had to make sure the other part was make sure the military was fed and had money. So when you have these power structures that are crumbling, that used to be their norm, they are taking it out, and also we know from places like Tulsa that, and we know from in Florida during the Great Recession when they were burning down and lynching and all that other stuff, and they burned down Tulsa, but the neighboring towns were jealous because Tulsa, their money circulated in their economy. Mm-hmm. They had a good economy going in Greenville, right? So the thing is, people get crazy and outraged when they see others doing their perception that others are doing better. There was a guy that said yesterday in one of the news reports, he was like, I'm upset that I can't get the money he was talking about the people in North Carolina. He says, the Biden administration said they're giving us this amount of money, which was good money per month, but they were upset that even though he's giving us this money, but he's sending billions of dollars overseas. But they don't get the logic, like we talked about yesterday, that those are all different money sources, and how that's all distributed is all different. Everyone has their pocketbooks, or they want to call their bags.
Can I add to?
But most people, when they're hungry, most people that feel like they're not getting what that other person's getting, or they think that someone's getting what they think they should have, makes them do a lot of stupid things.
In my opinion, one of the most dangerous places in America is the mind of an uneducated citizen, because the tomfoolery and I'm trying to curtail my swearitude, but this is why I was debating whether or not to come on, because my festivity is still through the charts, and I appreciate
hopefully you control yourself.
I say go for it. There are worse things. There are worse things. Just saying.
Go for it.
I haven't looked at the news.
Let's all hang out.
Election night? I got home.
Yes.
And I didn't even turn it on. I was like, nope, because I was so tired. Got in bed. And when I got up yesterday morning to get Xavier,
mm-hmm.
to school, and I actually jolted when I saw the news, and then on and on. So my fast forward is like, excuse, I've said it before. Elise says it. The media is complicit. Period.
Oh, we
And
know that.
sorry,
Yeah, for sure.
But the reminder of those goddamn charts that Steve Ratner showed, I wrote while you were sharing it. I wrote down, like, what are the other factors? We're trying to, even in that segment, that was a long segment. Anybody knows how news shows go? I mean, they have blocks, and you got to get out a lot of information in a short amount of time. My concern consistently has been they're gonna strip away what they can to get to me, but in doing so, you're missing some factors. What throughout the history, from the turn of the last century until now, this decline that he showed in that line of children doing better than their parents, what are all the factors that go along with that? The military industrial complex. We keep paying for wars and other and things that are outside of our control as a country, decades and decades and decades after. So who gets shafted in that? All of us, right in the middle. And I will put all of us in that. And then on top of that, then you got with that, like this white, the negativity of the whiteness thinking, the superiority complex. Like, well, everyone around me can struggle. I see that black woman over there with 3 kids. She's on welfare and she's working 4 jobs just to keep her kids in a good school district, i.e. that was my mom after her divorce. But heaven forbid, if I lose, I've got my small business, if I lose one little job and we have to go from like a solid 6-figure to maybe a middle 6-figure, heaven forbid, I don't want to be like.
But
Dude,
Brian, but that is the reality of how people see the world, and they see the
but I'm just saying, like, the uneducation.
Yeah,
like,
well, that's the problem with America, but it's not only America, and for this is a, if everyone just always, my job here is to kind of like keep you guys informed, to keep you informed of what's going on also around the world. Is that every person, there's only been 2 or 3 prime ministers or presidents in the modern countries that are I hate using the word, that are not secondary or third world countries. I hate that, but it is what it is. Every one of them have been kicked out of office because of this mindset, because people feel like they are getting less, their opportunities are going, and this is because of their government's decisions. It's all this hatred against the other. So because governments have used those pawns, and rich people and billionaires are using those pawns and using them and saying, oh, that you're not getting what you should get because they're getting it from you, or they're taking it from you. So it's all that, but it's not just America. It's happening all over the globe. But I shared this information because it gives you a perspective of why white America is so insanely losing their minds about certain things.
Well, can I add one more thing?
Go ahead.
Just to bring it back to America and simple it down for how I see it. It's called American greed. All right. And check it. So let's go back to where our parents were. Now, I'm Gen X. Said before, my daddy set up my mother, right? He believed cash is king. Even when his credit was in the garbage and burning, he could still go out and buy a car and like take care of his family, right? So he believed in keeping cash all over the place. That's the lessons that I took, right?
Cash is king.
So like Jazzy, I went through a stint where I was homeless.
Yes.
And underemployed. Like I said, the IRS, state of New York took all my little change. I mean, seized the accounts, right? So that's how bad it was. But here's where things change, though. So my parents didn't do college. We are first gen college people here, right? But they still believed in those really good jobs, working with your hands, bringing home a paycheck and being happy, which means money doesn't bring happiness. But if you look at the American greed, we went from people being teachers and firefighters and working in the store to everybody wants to be a lawyer. All those lawyer shows. Everybody wants to be a doctor. All those doctor shows. Everybody should go to college. Let's let go of trade schools. And if you don't have a house in a 2-car garage, you are not making it. I had a young man tell me that he's failing because he sees his friends. He's a young Black man. Sees his friends with the 2-car garage and the cars here and this and that, and I'm not there yet. Mm-hmm. Mind you, the second part of that greed is that we just finance our dreams. We don't believe in having cash. We don't believe in taking in cash.
That
so
credit
now
card.
You have all these young people, and depending on when they grew up, seeing people create these fantasies, these stories of living on yachts and drinking Cristal that they can't even spell. And that if you're 20 years old and you don't have a Mercedes-Benz, you are a failure. And they believe in credit.
Yes.
And they wonder why they don't have what their parents had.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Everybody doesn't need to go to college. No offense. You don't need to do it.
No,
like if you can go to trade school, go to trade school. But you know what that is greed, though, because people were like, I want to be like this guy. I want to have the big mansion, which is a crazy AC bill. First of all, let me just tell you that. I want to have all these cars. I want to have a house full of shoes. And we forgot what we had in terms of that dream was the small house, 2.5 kids and a dog and a white picket fence. What happened to that house? Why is that house no longer good enough for us? Greed got us here. Greed is why so many people are angry.
Yes.
We can say white folks, but there's Black folks in there too.
They say, this is all across the board. This is, hello. Think about the election.
Yes.
It wasn't just white people.
No,
it was
greed.
Black people. It was Latin people. It was all kinds of people that said, we want more. We're tired. We're done. We're just.
And I'm not there. Like, I will say this, and I'm going to throw it to Fifi. I told a friend, I have 3 wine fridges. How elitist is that? I never thought I'd have it. But I mean, think about it. Like we now have, machines in our house to make cappuccinos and things. But I'm also not in the place anymore because again, I didn't ruin my credit once where I am buying stuff to say I'm wealthy. My time is my wealth. Right. Yeah. So we're all in different phases in terms of like understanding that. But I no longer play that game. Mm-hmm. But it's American greed. That's what got us here.
It is American greed.
Yes.
And now that's across the board. And Charlene said, sorry, here it is. Greed and social media. Mm-hmm. And you said, and a lot of our young folks, I mean, we know because a lot of our girls have identity problems because they can't keep up. All the suicide that we heard about young kids, and they feel bad and self-esteem problems. And it's the guys too. It's not just girls, mm-hmm. but girls have getting the media side of it. But the social media is everyone has bling. Everybody has this. Everyone has that, and it's all a lie. I remember one of my friends was here in New York, visiting New York, sitting on my sofa, and then he made a post on his Instagram and said, I am enjoying the fabulous New York on my way to the opera. I was like, you sitting on the sofa. What do you mean you going the way to the opera? But again, people paint all of this craziness, and they like, I got wealth, I'm this, I'm that. But everyone's chasing, like you said, the greed. If I am not, and then once they get it, they're not happy. They're not happy. So anyway, Fifi, welcome aboard, Fifi.
Hello.
What's going on, Fifi?
I could not smile yesterday, so we're making progress.
There we go. We're smiling today.
Man, we're making progress. It's a broken heart behind the smile. But I will say, throughout it all, while I was working the polls on Tuesday, it was me and quite a few Black women and, couple of black guys, and it was a little cornucopia of America in there. We had a little bit of everybody working. And what I did enjoy was just to add something positive, but what I did enjoy was watching families come in and vote together. And they all had one person who was their first time voting. And, so I was in charge of the stickers and greeting people and, helping people place their ballot into the tabulator. So, we would have those moments where the little kid would come over and I would give them their future voter sticker, and give their parent their voting sticker. And their parents would be so proud of their kids. They made sure they asked for the kid sticker before they made sure they had theirs. And, I think about the fact that they may not get to use that privilege. And I get sad again, So other than that, the way we all work together to make sure it works smoothly, watching so many people of so many different backgrounds. We had women, Muslim women, in full hijab come in with their sons and their husbands and vote for Kamala. Like, they came in with their blue card to make sure they voted all the way down the ballot the way they needed to. And I did notice that outside of our precinct, we did, and when I was picking people up and dropping them off for the election, doing Lyft and stuff, during the early voting, there were no MAGA people. There were hardly any Republican people with pamphlets or anything. Everyone that was out there was Democratic.
Mm-hmm.
And that made me scratch my head, because it made me realize so many of them had voted early and stuff. They knew their strategy was online. Their strategy was on the phone. Their strategy was probably in Zoom meetings. But, while we were laughing and calling people clowns and stuff like we did in 2016, they were electing their king. And
I'm going to interject into that. There's some truth to that, because they also Trump did not do a lot of main media stuff. He was on the broadcast, all the rallies and rallies podcasts, and all the podcasts that were for the men. Men showed up, in white men and black men, a new rise in black men, a new rise in Spanish men that voted for Trump. But they were all connected. And someone brought it yesterday, and I'm gonna let you go back to your thought, is that media, it was for Kamala. Kamala was climbing an uphill, and she was climbing against downwind.
Yes.
Because she had to compete against Fox, that is pumped into everyone's home across the country. Every place you go, it's on Fox. So they have what's called the propaganda media. The Democrats don't have that. They don't have someone that's always giving you and making you hate the Democrats. Because a lot of the programs, a lot of commercials were calling Kamala and the Democrats the devils, and that they're the Antichrist, it was crazy on Fox.
And they thought CNN until it was got a new owner.
Yes, CNN was doing some stuff too, and you got these Newsmax and all the others. So Fox, I should say, the Republicans have lots of mechanisms to keep.
Absolutely.
And to keep the lies going over and over.
Absolutely.
Like I said before here, every hotel you go to is Fox. You go to every cafe, even here in New York, it's Fox. You go to some restaurant or whatever, Fox. It's everywhere. You go even overseas, when you go on vacation and you see the American television, it's Fox.
That became more of a thing. No, you're fine. That became more of a thing. And thank you for having me on, by the way. But that became more of a thing during Obama's administration. So while I was riding, the roads, going to truck stops, very gradually, it got to the point during his second term where you could go in the truck stop and they wouldn't allow you to turn the channel anymore. It used to be, whoever had the remote was king or queen, and everybody had to agree, consensus, and we'd watch sports or whatever it was. It got to a point where you would go into the restaurants, TA, Petro, were are famously very conservative, Fox leaning anyway. But it got to the point where even Pilot and Flying J, which were more, loose about us being able to watch what we wanted to watch, it got to the point, no, you can only leave it on Fox. We don't change the channel. Our manager said we can't change the channel. So then as we're going along through this administration, I'm noticing that the Discovery networks started changing their programming. You went from National Geographic teaching you about animals and other cultures and stuff to hillbilly white men that do unusual work. You started noticing all those different networks went to nothing but white blue collar programming, and some of it was lowest denominator, 600 pound, all the things. But you noticed it gradually changing to the point where I just stopped worrying about what was on the TV in the lounge and just got a little tablet. But this is why I'm saying this, is because what you were talking about when it comes to Fox is the fact that there's strategy, long-term strategy. They think 10, 15 years in a batch when it comes to power, because they know all they have to do is wait people out and gradually sneak up on society. So as we've been watching these changes and all of these networks merge and get new owners and find out that these owners are friends of the Rumpster or are connected to. And then we have to think about the fact that Elon Musk knew what he was doing when he was buying X. Everything was going down a couple of years before, because once 2020 was over, no matter where I traveled, there was always Trump 2024 signs ready to go, people selling on the sides of roads. Since 2020, they never stopped campaigning and riding for him. People buying merch. These merch stands would stay loaded with people all through these last 4 years, and no matter where I went in the country. So also, they were never fans of mail-in votes or even early voting. You remember they tried to stop it. But what I've noticed in North Carolina was the campaign ads were, get out there and vote early. This is from Republicans. Get out there and vote early. Mail your ballots in. And here in North Carolina, unaffiliated voters and Republicans and Democrats, in that order, voted early. Mm-hmm. So we had in Mecklenburg County, which is the largest voting county in North Carolina, we had 300,000 people vote early. So there are 817,200 and some change registered voters in Mecklenburg County. By the time early voting was over, by the last day of early voting, we had 426,000 and some change had already voted. So the district that I was working, we were expecting 900 people to finish out the day. We ended up with about 460. That's provisional ballots. That's the tabulator. We turned a lot of people away because they were at the wrong spot. A lot of young Black men. That's one thing that sticks in my mind was the amount of young Black men that showed up with their auntie, their stepmom, whoever, and they weren't registered. And they didn't realize they could not register and vote during election day. And to see them walk away like, wow, and one guy said, that's all right, I'll be ready when it's time to vote again. And all I could think was, sure, because I'm thinking, hey, she's going to win. We'll get to vote again. And one young man I told Ron about, touched my heart. He was probably 31, 32. And he came in and he was like, I need a provisional ballot. And I said, well, okay, go over there to the table. And he goes over and he comes right back past me. I said, did they take care of you? And he said, well, no, I'm not registered. And they told me I can't get a provisional ballot. And I said, oh, I'm sorry, and so he just left really upset. So after I got the next person situated, I followed him. And I said, young man, I said, it's going to be okay. And he was like, it's my fault. It's my fault. He just throwing his hands up. He was like, I waited until the last minute. He was like, I shouldn't have procrastinated. And I said, it's okay. A lot of people did. And a lot of people were misinformed about when you can register and vote on the, for same day voting. And I said, life has been life for a lot of us. And he teared up. And he said, life has really, he was about 6'1". And he just looked to the side. He couldn't even look at me. He said, life has really, really been life for me lately. And I said, you know what? It's okay. Just pray for us. And I was like, you're going to be ready to vote the next time. It's okay. But don't blame yourself, because we've all been getting caught up. And he said, I really appreciate it. And he just, that one little tear fell. And I said, can I hug you? And he said, yeah, hug them. And he went on about his way, but his head was hanging. And so yesterday, all day, I noticed everybody's head was hanging. And I stopped at a rest area because I couldn't work anymore. I was kind of scared I was going to pick up a MAGA celebratory person, you know what I'm saying? And I had to take a break. I had to disconnect, you know what I'm saying? So I went to the rest area and I was walking in, washed my hands, got some cold water. As I was walking out, I realized I couldn't hold my head up. I was just looking down, and this white guy walked by me. And when he saw me, he just went, literally. And it made me think, hold your head up. I got to the car and I'm watching other Black women that drive trucks, walk the pathways and stuff. And they're just talking into their phones, but they look, in disbelief. And so I think that was the major consensus. But I listened to Brian, and what I wanted to say to him and all our Black men, thank you for supporting us. Thank you for coming out the way you did. We had a lot of Democrats that did not show up, and that's one of the main reasons she lost.
That's right.
But it's not for the lack of
show up.
Yes. It's not for the lack of work, for the people that showed up, and for the men that came out there and voted with us. I love our Black men. Always will. But the fact that they showed up, because I was really worried. There were a lot of them that were like, I'm voting for Trump. And a lot of them did. But the ones who voted, most of them voted for Kamala. And I just love you, Brian. I love our Black men. We're going to be okay. We have to have a plan for our families, because shit is going to hit the fan, period. We can't pretend like it isn't. We can't put our head in the sand and hope our way out of that. We can only pray for our safety and our safety of our family and our communities. But Ron is absolutely right. Community is going to get us through this. There will be some people that will leave the country. Those people, their job is to make sure that if somebody else needs to leave the country, they got the information. They can help with something. But it's going to get bad. Just a question of when. These people have carte blanche. I don't know what the police are going to do with their carte blanche, but they've already showed us what they'll do when they don't have it. So we just have to stay prayed up and look after each other. We have to look after our children. I have a young man who is my grandson who is 15. He'll be 18 and have to register for service under the draft. So I've got other things on my mind. You see what I'm saying? And it's like, and we have a president who is friends with people who love to warmonger, so you have to think those things are going to worry us, but we have to stick together, and we have to be able to be honest about how we feel and not just put on some fake smile and go, I'm okay. We know God is in control, but I'm not okay. I'm not. But I know a lot of my people in my circle look to me to be encouraging. I had people calling me going, I know you got a positive spin. And I said, not right now. Give me a moment.
Well, let me go ahead, Jazzy. I want
to just one thing, because I think it needs to be said. One thing we have to talk about is voter apathy and how we do not show up. We don't. We think that sitting on the sidelines will encourage somebody to do for us. And I've been saying this from the beginning. If you do not show up, they do not care. The squeaky will roll all the time. And the one thing I will say that we do that consistently kicks us in the face is that we do not show up when we are needed. And this is, I remember watching a report like 2 years ago. It was 2 people in a rural area in North Carolina. One of them said, one was in Appalachian. I don't know if the other one was in the same place, but the guy in Appalachia, he was in like Boone or something, and he owned a business. And the other one, he was white, and the other one was a black guy. He was a former military guy, and he lived in a rural area that was downtrodden. I don't think it was Boone, but it was somewhere in that area. And it was interesting to me because the white guy understood. He said, I will always vote. He said, because if I keep voting, eventually they'll have to listen to me. The black guy sat there and said, I'm not going to show up because they don't do anything for me. I'm not trying to make it a black-white thing or whatever, but I'm trying to make and highlight that.
No, you have a good point.
All the time. And then we think that they're going to pay attention. There are men like Brian, like Ron, like Chris, like those that are in this chat that sit there and time again, they try to tell people, listen, there is more power in what you do collectively. There's more power in what you do by working. There's more power in your vote than anything aside. But we have to learn that not showing up is not going to help us. We have to understand that, and we have to drive it home to these young people and to the older people too, and make them understand that not showing up is not going to get you anywhere. Doing like God, like
no, you're absolutely right. Because at this point,
faith without work is
at
dead.
this point, one of the main reasons we're always constantly. Oh, I'm sorry.
You got feedback there. Finish up.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
Oh, I was just saying, faith without work is dead. And if you do not sit there and allow yourself to actually be a part of the solution, then you have no room to say and get mad and be scared and be all that. We have to start honestly holding ourselves accountable for the lack of things that are going on in our communities. Yes. We don't do that. We always want to talk to somebody else. No, it's us. Sometimes it's us. Sometimes
we have to hold each other accountable.
Sometimes it's not. I will never forget when I was younger. They essentially wanted to build a Mall of America in my right outside my neighborhood, in Silver Spring. If you ever been to this area, there's a town right outside of DC called Silver Spring, Maryland. Elise lives she can walk there, right? They wanted to build a Mall of America. The reason why it didn't get done was because they did not want the Black kids from DC and Prince George's County to come over to this area, because it was it's kind of like a hub for everybody to go there, right? And not only was that the case, but they wanted to only develop 4 blocks of this downtown area. And they slightly made and built up this area now. But the thing is, you want to know who wasn't a part of it? My mother was the only Black individual at that table. U Street, 14th and U in DC. If you ever been to DC back in the early 80s, late 80s, early 90s, there's 14th Street was a hooker's dream. Okay.
Red light district.
Red light
Same
district.
thing. They gentrified it. And I remember talking to this lady afterwards, right? She was white. And she said, you want to know what's sad? She was like, I was actually trying to stop this development from happening because I realized it was going to price out the people that lived here. Mm-hmm. And we did not show up. We always want to show up when it's too late. So I'm trying to get people to see. That's why I've always said, when I started talking with Elise, I said, for me, it is never, yes, the general election is important. It is very important. I'm never going to diminish it. But I always try to harp on the midterm election, because that is where a lot of the stuff that you do not like is happening.
Yeah.
We need to stop sitting down and not showing up.
We need to be involved in all the process.
All of it.
All of it.
We have to keep preaching that all of it matters.
Yes.
The fact that the Senate turned is a crazy, crazy thing to me.
Yeah, and maybe the house.
The house.
I'm gonna have to end the conversation because I gotta bring them to work and get back to what they were doing.
Yes.
But I do have one thought for you guys, and this is a nostalgia moment. And this was a great conversation. So thank you guys for participating. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for popping on. But I do have one question for nostalgia, and you could just say it in one word. And then we're just gonna get out of here, and we'll be back tomorrow. But here we go. Here's my last thought for the day, and since it is our Touch Thursday, our TrendWatch Thursday, so we have something that we need to talk about in nostalgia. Our favorite dance. Oh, moves. I don't know why I got two O's in here. let me take that back. Let me make a correction here. There we go. Moves. What's your favorite dance? What's your favorite dance moves?
The butterfly. That was my dancing back in the
the butterfly.
I was getting it.
Now, when I was growing up,
you must still have good knees.
It was the wop. It was the wop and the snake. We had the wop and we had the snake. Put it in the comment box and you can share it. But what was your favorite dance? Gwendolyn, you have a dance that you used to do?
I mean, I did a great deal. I mean, like, I think we all did, the WAP, the Pee Wee Herman. But at this point, real talk, just moving side to side and doing the Harlem Shuffle, I am good. That's it.
The two-step, two-step.
Keeping the beat.
The WAP was my thing. The WAP was my thing, and the snake. You see that?
Yeah. I agree. I concur with the WAP.
Derek says the Roger Rabbit. I don't know.
Ooh.
The Roger
Derek
Rabbit.
was agile.
So what else? What else out there? What else?
I love house music. I mean, I love dance hall too.
House music.
Listen, a good dirty wine. Yeah.
The body roll. Do you guys know the body roll? Do you guys know the body roll? Yeah. So, Brian, do you have a dance? Fifi, do you have a dance?
Either one. Brian finish his thought.
Go ahead, B.
I was gonna. Well, for me,
okay.
I don't know. At one point in my younger youth, I did take it upon myself to learn salsa. Like, actually went took us, I think it was 6 or 8 weeks at a local dance place. But the one recently that I blame or credit my brother and new sister-in-law, with the Tamia Can't Get Enough line dance and
line dance.
Live Out Your Love.
Mm-hmm.
Him and
is that a country thing? Line dancing?
Well,
it's very much no.
That's a black thing. But my brother, it took my sister.
We're gonna get you doing the wobble when you come to North Carolina, Ron.
The wobble. I saw that today.
I'm gonna get you wobbling.
Yeah. So any chance
there it is. I love the wobble line dance.
I was just gonna say I learned it. My sister and I learned it because we were part of the wedding group, and took us several months. And then at my brother's reception, DJ didn't play it, and I was like, "Oh no!" Yeah, I learned it. I'm going any chance if either one of those songs comes on, I'm out there. Like, I'm not letting this go to waste. CQ Detroit.
Got to show your skills.
Last when we had our thing at the museum last year, I was dancing. Like, I'm using this dance. Yeah.
So, Fifi, you had a dance. You had a dance.
You know what? I gotta say, I had some braids and stuff. You can tell me anything. I would do the WAP. You know what I mean? I would definitely do a good prep. I used to be able to do the Running Man back in the day when I actually could get my feet off the floor.
Like the Running Man.
Oh my gosh! What? Oh my goodness! That's why we were so in shape. We used to really dance. Oh my gosh!
Well,
we'll get you onto that wobble when you come down, bro.
I'm gonna let you guys go, and thank you for joining me today. I'm gonna just pop
Bye,
you guys
Jazzy.
off. And oops, I popped you back on. There we go. Thank you, B. And that was great. Awesome. So I got one thought for you guys, and that is make sure as I close out, I want you to know, I know there's a lot going on in the world. I know there's a lot happening. I know that we're all kind of like decompressing from all that's happening and that has happened. Make sure you eat. Make sure you sleep. Make sure you drink lots of water. Get out and do some activities. Relax your mind. Even if you have to pull away from social media and say, you know what, I need to take a break for a couple of days. Take a break. Get your mind cleared. It's okay. Take some time for you. You will feel better for it. And also, that right there, Brian says disconnect. If you have to disconnect, disconnect. Take away some, get out there, go for a walk. Like I said, like I went for my walk this morning. It felt so good to just go for a walk. People were interacting. People were, smiling at each other. People were saying hi, good morning. Get out into the world. Do some time. Go on a vacation. Bryce says, go on vacation right now. Go on a vacation. And you know what? A lot of us will be on vacation. Like we'll be. This our last episode is the day before the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. That's our last show, and then we'll be back in January. Going to use that time to decompress, spend time with family, hug someone, call someone up and just say, I love you. It makes you feel so much better. I called some people yesterday just to tell them I love them. It was so nice to have my cousin call me and say, hey, I'm just checking on you, cuz, the best way to decompress and get our minds clear is to think about what we need to do to go forward, but also checking in on others and laughing with others and spending time with others. You will feel 1,000% better as you reach out to others. And so make sure you connect. But again, take some time for you. Enjoy this time because the fight is not over. We'll get back in the race in January. We'll get back in the race. We'll fight, or maybe it's next week or whatever it is. Get your plans together, whatever you're doing. But right now, what's really important is get your rest. Take some time to get your sleep. Get your sleep, eat right, take your vitamins, go for a walk, drink lots of water, and I think you'll be good for it. Okay, guys, this was great. We had a great time. Thank you, Fifi, for popping on. Thank you for Gwendolyn for popping on. Thank you, Jazzy Jazz, for coming on. And thank you for Mr. B, Mr. Brian Creative in the building. So thank you all for joining me. This is a community, and we're about community. So, and that's a lot also. Find your community. And if you got one, find another, or find a couple of them. People is how we're going to survive. Community is how we're going to survive. Okay, I'm out. Guys, have a great evening, great day, and I will see you tomorrow. Okay, later.